That was the talkradio.nyc Encore broadcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Now for the live shows. Professional Serving Community, talkradio.nyc.
Hello and welcome back to the Expansion Room. I'm your host, Shervon, and this week we're going to be talking about a topic near and dear to my heart, psychedelics, but more importantly, psilocybin, and how psilocybin can be integrated into your mental health care, but also talking about it from a spiritual lens or a spiritual perspective. And today's guest, I'm happy to be joined by um, uh, two guests. Reggie Bucksell and Jared Edmonds. Both are the founders of the Living Sacrament here in my area, in the DC, Maryland area. And it is a psilocybin church that has recently achieved federal protections as a sacred mushroom spiritual community. And so we're going to be exploring the ancient as well as modern uses of psilocybin and their personal journeys as well and what led them to create this community. And we're going to also be talking about the role of psilocybin as a healing agent, integration, and transformation. So, first, and actually, let me ask you both to unmute and just say hello, and then we're going to talk a little history.
Okay. Hey, how you doing? Hi, everybody.
This is Reggie.
Hey, how you doing?
Yes.
This is Jared.
Thank you for being here. So today, the history is something that I want to lead with so that people are aware of um, what psilocybin is in our history as human beings, and that it's not just this new thing that has cropped up in recent years and everyone suddenly has this interest in it, right? And so we're hearing more and more about psilocybin or psychedelics in general, macro doses, people going to places to have big ceremonies and big experiences. And we're hearing about a rise in microdosing. And so I
Mhm.
want people to kind of understand a little bit about what that all comes from, right? And
Okay.
so the roots of psilocybin go back thousands of years. Indigenous and spiritual communities and traditions have been using psilocybin as a macro and micro um, molecule in their lives and in ceremonial ways, not in these ways where what we would define as recreational, right? Where
Right.
people were really looking either for spiritual healing, emotional healing, communion with the divine, communion with the community.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they
yeah,
definitely and they had people to guide them through these, experiences,
exactly.
one on one or in groups. You really don't get as many of those people nowadays as back then. It was like it always was a person to assist through things like this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that is why we're starting to see more and more schools, I'll call them schools, popping up to train people like myself. Therapists are getting trained to be psilocybin integration coaches. Um, psilocybin assisted therapist or a psychedelic assisted therapist. I became a psychedelic assisted therapist back during the pandemic. And it is the work that I really love to do, to help guide people through that experience. But it is starting to come up. And so I think it'll eventually pace um, what we're seeing the demand pointing to,
For sure. For sure.
hopefully. I think too, people have to realize that it's not, when we say indigenous communities, that includes all the indigenous communities around the world and before modern times, right? Ancient
Right.
times, before we became communities that were colonized, I guess is going to be the best way to put that.
Yeah.
So there was a gentleman who wrote The Immortality Key. His name is Brian Morescu, and he dives into the role of psychedelics in early human history. So he was going back some 10, 15,000 years, way back. And he kind of brought it up to ancient Greek times, Jesus's times, where he talked about how psychedelics, in his book, the hypothesis is, because we can't prove anything nowadays, right? But the hypothesis is that psychedelic substances, entheogens, were the root of ancient religious rituals, and he calls these communities the religion that had no name, which was my favorite. So this is before Christianity became a thing,
Mhm.
before any of the Abrahamic religions that we know about today had a name. There were
Mhm.
these rituals that would go on. And so he called it the secret psychedelic sacrament, which is a perfect word for our conversation
Right.
today,
Yeah. No,
right?
that's dope.
He talks about the Eleusinian mysteries in ancient Greece and how this secret psychedelic sacrament was passed down to the early Christians, and that sacrament influenced the original Christian Eucharist.
Okay.
So I read this book about a year and a half ago. I'm a preacher's kid, and I'm like, they never told us anything about this in church.
They're not gonna tell you that.
Nah, not at all.
Nope. And I was a religious studies major. This didn't come
Wow.
up in my religious studies classes either
Definitely
at
not. You
all.
gotta seek for that information. You gotta seek.
Exactly. So he did more than a decade of research, and he had to go to like the catacombs of the Vatican to see some of this.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
Amazing.
definitely here for ancient. It's one of the earliest organisms here, and it just
Yes,
yeah. So they were using it to tap into higher powers and higher versions of themselves for
absolutely.
thousands, millions of years. So you know how
Yep.
we are. We hide stuff and try to keep secrets, and that's
Yep.
the man. That's man for you.
I really don't feel like it was frowned
Hmm.
upon though until recently, like with probably within the last 100, 200 years. Cause I
Yep.
mean, you got to think, man, people were using crazy things like heroin in their cough medicine. Like, you know what I'm saying? So there's no way, like, I feel like it was probably perceived a lot different back in those times. Like, I don't think it
Right.
was as widespread, right? But
That's right.
it definitely was perceived differently for sure.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. Cocaine used to actually be in Coca-Cola too, but
Right,
Right.
that's a whole
exactly.
nother episode.
So we look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so a little bit more as we move into the history. In 1955, an American banker, R. Gordon Wasson, and his photographer traveled to a small village in Oaxaca, Mexico. They sought out to witness a mushroom ceremony they had heard about, and it was largely unknown to outsiders, of course, because again, indigenous communities were not sharing this information outside of their communities. They met Maria Sabina, who was a Mezatec curandera, which is a healer, and a shaman, and she originally hesitated in allowing him to witness this ceremony, but eventually she allowed them to participate. He had originally promised to not share his experience. So this is key. He had originally promised not to share his experience with the public, but later wrote the article for Life magazine, which came out in 1957, called Seeking the Magic Mushroom. And so the cat was out of the bag to the
Right.
Western community. So it led to, all of us are younger than the hippie movement, of course, but it led to the hippies and the famous people going down there so that they can seek out a psychedelic experience. But it changed their community.
For sure.
And so the community itself was never the same. And she eventually regretted sharing it with him. So
Wow.
that is key because it has always been considered sacred. And how Western culture latches onto things is often never sacred.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I want to have this conversation today because I think the sacredness of the mushroom and all psychedelics needs to be part of this new wave of interest in psychedelics to handle it differently than we did before. So the new research that has arisen, well, first we had the first wave of research in the 50s and 60s that came about um, for about 10 or 20 years, 60s, 70s, early 70s. So research was conducted so that we could figure out whether they would be a benefit for mental health, addiction, and spiritual healing. And one of the things that was interesting is that the hub of a lot of the research was here in Maryland, and it was at a place called Spring Grove State Hospital with Stanislav Grof, Bill Richards, a whole bunch of these names that have all written books about psychedelics after the research was shut down by the government. And I love when I see on the internet, you look up this stuff, they talk about prohibition. It was very much so prohibition.
All right.
Sure.
1970, everything had to shut down. Bill Richards eventually comes out again when the research starts up in 1999. And he is now connected to Johns Hopkins and Sunstone Therapies and has resumed the research. And I got to meet him briefly a few months ago, and he has this light in his eyes, like he gets up every day to do the dopest thing ever, which is to help people heal.
Right.
That's what he does. He also wrote the book Sacred Knowledge, and I got to read that about a year and a half ago as well. And it was a beautifully written book about the early days of this research, his work, where it is now, what psychedelics really are. So those are the two main books I think if you're watching this episode, you may want to investigate. So today, with the Renaissance and the resurgence of research in the psychedelic field, particularly at Johns Hopkins and NYU, we are now seeing that research confirm what the ancient folks knew thousands of years ago. All right.
Mhm.
And so, whether people are stepping in at the macro level for large ceremonies or at the micro dosing level, where it's a small sub-perceptual dose, either way, there's a promise of mental health healing and spiritual alignment. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to take a break. And when we come back from this break, we're going to talk to both Reggie and Jared about their own journeys into this sphere and what led them to start this organization. So come on back after the break.
All right.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Broncu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a purpose-driven individual looking for deeper healing, clarity, and growth? Welcome to the Expansion Room, a transformative space for purpose-driven individuals. I'm Shervon, host, licensed therapist, and coach. Join me every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Welcome back to the Expansion Room, where this week we are talking about psilocybin and its effects on mental health as well as spiritual growth. And my guests today are Reggie and Jared, who both began the Living Sacrament. And so in this segment, I want to hear, like, what were your individual journeys towards psychedelics in general, but psilocybin in particular, and then what led you to start to bring some of what you learned to community?
Okay. You want me to go first, Jay, or
You know
you?
you gotta go first. You gotta
go
go first.
Okay.
You gotta go first.
So for me, I was in a transition. I had a trucking company at the time. I had I was partnered with my brother, one of my older brothers, and we had just upgraded to a car carrier, and I had been doing most of the work before than myself, but now we were transitioning him in to help. So I was training him on the new truck we had. And we just picked up a couple cars, and we were on our way to make a trip to Miami. From Maryland, and man, we didn't even get like a block, I want to say, and we flipped. Well, my brother flipped the vehicle with us in it, and I got injured and also had to be liable for the accident. Uh, he wasn't even on the insurance yet. It was terrible. Man, basically lost everything in that incident. And I was also injured. So I didn't know where or what I was going to do. I had been doing that for the last 2 years, working 16-hour days to build this business up. And I just lost everything in like a blink of an eye. So I was like really depressed. I had to do something though, of course, to pay the bills. So I was like Instacarting and things like that. And man, one of my friends had just given me some mushrooms. It's like, man, here, you should take these and see how it helps you. I took them. And the night that I took those mushrooms, I will never forget it. My daughter had a soccer game in the morning, and my girlfriend, who is my wife now, had like a birthday party or something that she went to. So I was just me, perfect environment. I took the mushrooms, I lemon teched them. And if you don't know, lemon teching is like the process, a method of consumption where you can just, it's a stronger version where you don't have to
Right.
actually ingest the physical mushrooms. But anyway, I did that and it was a super strong, spectacular experience. I mean, I went through every emotion thinkable within this experience. I was crying, I was laughing, I was happy, I was sad, I was angry. I just went everywhere with it. But by the end of my experience, I just felt so good. It really brought a lot of clarity to my situation at that time, my
Yeah.
life in general up to that point, and kind of helped me put in perspective that it wasn't that bad, right? Like I had been through way worse things in my life up to that point, and like it was something that I could overcome. But it definitely like went from half empty to half full. And man, I remember going to the soccer game, my daughter's soccer game, and just feeling so great. And I was like, wow. I mean, and it lingered for like a week or two after that. And I was like, man, I still feel great. I wasn't intoxicated at all, but the way I felt about myself and what I had to do and what I had ahead of me was so great. I was like, man, this stuff really is awesome. I really feel like this could help other people. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like the next night or two after that first 2 weeks of me taking it, I started a website, and and I was living in Baltimore at the time, and I basically me and my girlfriend at the time now, which is my wife, we moved from Baltimore back to Washington D.C. This was around the time that mushrooms had recently been decriminalized, I want to
Right.
say. And but a lot of people weren't really on to mushrooms at this time. It was more like of a marijuana thing. And but I started a website. Um, and we just started like getting calls. A lot of people would call and they would have like questions, and mind you, I never read a book. I never, saw a movie or video. I just used the sacrament and just learned as I went. It was like the mushrooms gave me the information that I was seeking. I didn't even know, but it was like as time went on, I just learned more and more and more and developed a methodology to be able to help other people not, solve their issues, but learn how to use the sacrament properly to be able for them to solve their own issues.
There you go.
And so as time went on, we just started growing. I mean, I used to sit on the phone sometimes 30, 40 minutes with people. They're telling me their problems. I'm just trying my best to help them. I just felt so fulfilled in doing this because I felt like this is what mushrooms gave to me. And I felt like it was only right to give this to others. It came so natural. I felt like this was my calling now. Um, and then as time went on, we just grew and grew and grew because unlike a lot of these other places, we really cared. Like we're not trying to sell people, right? They would come, they would tell us what they're trying to accomplish, what their intention is, like, right? Like, oh, okay, I'm not trying to have a psychedelic experience. I'm just trying to help get off of these SSRIs or these MAOIs, right? How should I go about that? Now, of course, I'm not a doctor, right? But with the information that we know just from dealing with people that have been doing this throughout our time of existence, um, we just basically develop, okay, well, this is how I would go about it. Now, I'm not a doctor to suggest you to stop taking medicine, of course, right? But this is how you should go about it. This is the proper way to do it. You don't need an ounce to be able to microdose, okay? Like, and just breaking it down to people like that. And then we just became a hub of information more so than just being there for mushrooms. And
Wonderful.
yep, here we are.
Thank you. I did not know all of those details, so thank you for
Yeah,
sharing.
no problem.
Mhm.
Jared.
Reggie dragged me into it. So nah, but it is kind of true. Me and him been friends since kindergarten. A lot of people don't know that. So we like brothers.
Oh,
Yeah, that's like my longest friend. And so
nice.
I've been Reggie went through a lot, you know what I mean? And so I was always like there. And then he was like, bro, I got this thing. I ain't even believe it at first. And when I took my first experience, I was like, dang, he was right. And it was like a year, 2 years later, after we already this big thing going on at the
Mhm.
time. And so I was like, yo, he was really right. Cause I ain't know nothing about it. He like, bro, I took these things and it changed my life, bro. We gotta do it. So I'm like, all right, cool. Let's go. And I started off with like microdosing and I do like social dosing and stuff like that. But then he was like, bro, you gotta go all the way. And then I went there and then I was like, I see what he talking about. And
Mhm.
then for me, what really did it was the people would come in there after they came to us and they'll be crying, like they'll
Mhm.
be telling us their stories on how their life changed. I never forget, it was this guy from Pennsylvania. He had came down
Mhm.
right when we opened the shop, so before it was curbside. And when Reggie first started, and then we opened the shop in, what was that, 22, bro? 2022, summer
Yeah,
20.
something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, summer 22 or 23. No, summer 23. And this guy came in like the first or second week we was open, and he heard about mushrooms through the internet and read some stuff. And I remember him coming back like that September, October, and he was like, yo, I got a job now, I got this, it changed my life. And then at that moment I was like, oh, this stuff really helping people. And it wasn't more so, from my knowledge, like a Scooby-Doo drug or
Right.
substance. That's what I thought it was too, like more recreation. And people would ask about microdosing and
Mhm.
healing, and then I started doing more research in it. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm sending Reggie information, like, what I'm saying, it go from him telling me stuff. Now I'm like, all right, learning this, and just piling on all this information about it.
Yep.
And it been locked in ever since. And so I'm vegan. Already been into like mushrooms, but not psychedelic mushrooms. Like, so I always was into like the oysters, the matakis, the
Yeah, the
chicken of the
functional
foot. Yeah, the
mushrooms.
function
Yeah.
lion's mane. So
Reishi and yep.
yeah. So when I never did cannabis. Like I don't drink. Like I'm super pure. And then he's like, he can't get me to drink. You give me $1 million right now, I won't take a drink. You know what I'm saying? And so once I got introduced to it through him, and it kind of been locked in ever since. And we just been expanding, and just we learning every day. We learn information every day. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Our clients teach us, doing stuff like this teaches us, we not like the end all be all, but like we're just a hub of like a safe place. And that's our goal. It's just to
Yeah.
be that place of information, because people are seeking it. And that's what I realized. People are seeking this information, but it's nowhere to go. It's just a bunch of literature on the internet. But when they find us, there's like finding the pot of gold.
Yeah.
And like he said, it's our goal is to not sell, is to help. You get
Right.
what I'm saying? And that's been our mission ever since, and it has helped us tremendously, even with us shifting from the well shrooms to the living sacrament.
Mhm.
That's still our main focus, is to help people. Everybody around us succeeds that we do business with or interact, and that's what brings me fulfillment. I think him as well, to be able to help our friends and family, and just everyone we encounter. And it helps you in more ways than just by taking it. Just the fruits of everything can just spread upon to everybody. And the community is
Absolutely.
great as well. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's
I agree.
definitely a great
I
community.
agree. The community that builds around mushrooms, psychedelics in general, but mushrooms is a beautiful community because people are there for healing. They're
Right.
looking for spiritual connection, as well as most are looking for a community because you can't really talk about this in most families or in mixed company and so forth. And so the connections start to really build and it becomes spiritual, even without the label of it being a mushroom church, so to speak. So when
Right.
we come back from the break, I would love to hear from you both about how you then moved into starting the Living Sacrament and who the Living Sacrament serves. Like who in the vast world are you looking to connect with? And so we'll be back in a moment.
Misalignment within your sales team or with the client stalls deals and creates unnecessary friction for you and the client, resulting in up to 37% lower win rate. If you're in pre-sales, sales management, or sales enablement, and you'd like to increase revenues, win rate, margins, client satisfaction, and stay competitive, this show is for you. Hi, I'm Art Fromm, host of the Making Seamless Sales Show. Please join me live Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Hi, I'm Linda Marsanico. The A Train to Sedona is a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. It's also the name of my new broadcast on Wednesdays at 12 noon. When we are spiritual, we embrace possibilities and ideas, which strengthen our mind, body, spirit, health, and wisdom. On the A Train to Sedona broadcast, I plan to interview guests who embrace these expansive practices. Join us on Wednesdays at 12 noon on Talk Radio New York City.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Welcome back to the expansion room, and we'll continue our conversation on psilocybin with our guests from the Living Sacrament. And I would love to hear who you serve in the larger community, and then what are the particular or unique needs in the African American community in reference to introducing psychedelics in general, but psilocybin in particular, and how do you address those?
Yeah, sure. We who we serve is people seeking an their higher self, right? People trying to heal, people dealing the everyday person, right? Getting into this, I didn't know how many people suffer from depression, right? We served over 28,000 clients we have, right? And I didn't know how many people had PTSD, depression, anxiety. And so it can be your neighbor, somebody you talk to every day. You don't know who's dealing with it. And so that's who we mainly serve. And we're here to be that space to where people can come together and talk about and learn from each other. We have people that are expert mycologists to therapists like you we met through this journey. And it's just a place to where like-minded people come together and we communion and we talk and have a good time. We do nature hikes at least once or twice a month, and people love it, and that's where we are with it. And just to be that place and to where people can come for that information, knowledge, and experience, and that's what we're here to do, to just serve.
Wonderful. Thank
Yeah.
you. And Reggie?
So yeah, like he said, we basically serve any and everybody, whoever needs it. I mean, we have clients and patrons that are from 80 something years old to 21. And every color, shape, size is no demographic. Um, like you said, it's literally you can walk in there and you'll see somebody's mother. We've had paraplegic people. I mean, you could name it. We've dealt with a lot of different people. I feel like everybody needs assistance. You know what I'm saying? I feel like we all have stuff that we need to solve within ourselves, and who better to know how to fix yourself to a certain degree than yourself, right? You let our egos kind of control our narrative day to day and justify crazy things that we shouldn't be doing, but yeah, nonetheless. But as far as like the black community, right, I feel like um my opinion is that we a lot of the times, um if you don't know somebody close to you that can really break it down, that you trust their opinion and feel like what they're saying is like gold or law, you know what I'm saying, that a lot of people just don't want to give it an open eye. I see that in a lot of other communities. Like you said, the 50s, 60s, when that hippie movement was going along, a lot of their parents, partook in these activities, right? Figuring themselves out, recreational or spiritual, right? And using these products. We get that a lot. A lot of people will come in, man, I did these 20 years ago, man. There's nothing you can tell me about a
Right.
mushroom. And I try to explain to people, okay? It's like weed, right? Weed in the 70s and 80s
Totally
was
different.
is not the same weed, okay?
Exactly.
It's a whole new weed. But anyway, I feel like we're not as open-minded to certain things just because of the way our community is, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like you know, it's like you can't knock nothing until you try it. That's my biggest thing, right? You got to have an open mind to a lot of things. It took me to try to have an open mind, right? And I just try to explain to people, like, you don't really see us in this space too often, right? It's not a lot of us in this space. So
No.
it's not really too many people for us to look at and be like, okay, well, this guy seems like he's doing pretty well, and he seems pretty, level-headed and spiritually inclined. Oh, well, let's see. Let's just see what it
Sure.
is. And
Yeah.
it's just a lot of misconceptions, man. People
That's
talking
really it.
about,
Yeah.
yeah, hey, oh, I don't want to be jumping off the walls or stripping naked. This is not PCP, okay? This is
Right. Right.
this is
Exactly.
natural.
It is not that.
Right. Yeah. They think of like
Oh
you'd be
man.
so surprised. You'll hear people come in and be like, microdose. I want a microdose. And they think a microdose is one mushroom.
Right.
Like, no, that is not a
No.
Right.
microdose. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it
I
gets
think the
crazy.
misconceptions probably go back way back at least in the Black community to the days where we were experimented on without, our consent.
Yeah.
And a lot of things happening to our great grandparents and grandparents that were not above board. And so there's a lot, even with mental health. When I became a therapist 22 years ago, I did not personally know any other Black therapists at
Mm,
that
Right.
time. I was
Dang.
doing a thing that was completely out of bounds for the community that I grew up in.
mhm.
Now there are Black therapists everywhere, but 22 years ago, not so much.
Right.
And you got to think how mushrooms are portrayed on the media, right? Like
Yes.
even if it's in a movie,
Yeah.
it's all the crazy colors, people jumping out of planes and just doing, it's portrayed like this thing. So people like, oh, that's gonna make you go crazy. I'm not
Exactly.
trying to go crazy. And so when you try to explain that to people, especially people that look like us, it's like you got to break down that barrier. And
Yeah.
then also what I've noticed is a lot of people don't want to heal. They want to stay where they are. They don't want to talk to their higher self. They don't want to figure out what's going on because it's easier sometimes they feel like to stay where they are. And
Yeah.
so when they find out the information, they like, well, do I really want to do that? Like, you know
Right.
what I mean? But mainly it's the media, what is was portrayed as, I feel, and we just like no. But I feel like most of us the ones that need it. If you've been to the store, our store wasn't in the best neighborhood.
No, it wasn't.
I can tell you, we probably had a few people come from over there in the neighborhood, and majority of them didn't look like us. That's all I'm gonna say. You know what
True.
I
Your
mean?
shop was because and I used to love, and I hope you're still going to be continuing this with the Living Sacrament, like the fireside talks,
Oh yeah,
where you would invite people like myself and the nurses and so forth to come and talk to people about their journey with psilocybin, especially if they were just starting, if they had questions, right?
right,
But whenever I was in the shop doing one of those talks with people, it was the most diverse, it was like the United Nations.
right, yeah,
It
yeah.
was the
It was
most diverse place in
judgment free
DC.
zone. It was judgment free. Like I done
It
seen it
really
all.
was.
Yeah,
Young, old, white, black, Hispanic, Asian. I mean,
right.
everybody would come in there in those couple of hours I'd be in there, and they'd be from out of state, out of the
Yeah.
area, because
Right.
like where could you walk in and get your questions answered by live humans,
Right.
So one of
right?
the questions, when we was about to start doing some marketing, and they were like, "Well, who's your avatar?" Right? You know, Nike might focus on middle-aged professionals who work out or athletes,
Right.
right? And so you trying to pick your avatar, and we like literally 21 to 81, any shape, size, color, sex, it don't matter. They
It
come in
didn't
there,
matter.
and it's hard to find an avatar. Of course, you're gonna have certain people in a certain age group that 25 to 45 who come more, but
Yeah.
majority of them, we had like old ladies 70 years old bike from Bethesda down there every Saturday. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
And they were a
Like,
couple. And they were a
yeah,
couple. It was her and her
Yeah.
husband, I want to
I'm
say.
not
yeah,
surprised.
Yeah.
My oldest client for a psilocybin journey, and she came for a spiritual experience. That was literally what she wanted. And so I worked with her, as her sitter and a facilitator, and then also doing her integration. She was 89, and her main question was, what does it look like to be 90 years old in this world?
Mhm.
When most of my friends have died, I've outlived a couple of husbands. Like, what is this life now?
right,
Yeah.
yeah,
And we got a lot of questions. I
Right.
always tell people when they go on their experiences, man, you got to come with some type of intention,
Mm,
right? You got
you
to
do.
meditate or pray, whatever you feel comfortable with doing,
That's right.
because you can get your questions answered.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
You sure
saying?
can.
nah, for
It's
sure.
and a lot of people
Sure
mistake
can.
this for just uh, a lot of people assume you're just trying to get high, right?
Yeah.
But
Yep.
for me, and for a lot of other people that I've talked to, it's life changing. I mean, some people only do it once and
Yeah.
never do it again,
Yeah.
and they're changed from that day forward. You
That's
know?
right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Nah, you
Yeah.
definitely got to set that intention for sure. Reggie,
Yeah.
yeah,
We're going to
like,
talk about that in the
yeah,
next segment. Like, what
yeah.
makes this different than recreational use or just getting high? So, we're going to take our final commercial break, and then we'll come back and talk about those questions. Thank you.
On Frank About Health, we're not just talking healthcare. We're managing disruption and innovation. Over the last 4 years, I've taken you from epilepsy and COVID to mental health, caregiving, and now the front lines of healthcare transformation. Stay tuned for a healthier future as we bring on the innovators, professionals, storytellers, and advocates who show you how to own your healthcare every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
Ready to serve up success with a splash? Hi, I'm Bruce Kramer, a.k.a. the Corporate Cockroach.
I'm the Renaissance woman, Angie Snowball.
And I'm your strategy doctor, Dr. Navtej Desange, inviting you to serving up success with a splash.
Join us as we shake things up with real talk and real strategies centered around awareness, action, and accountability.
And yes, there really is a cocktail involved. Please join us and sip your way to success.
Serving up success with a splash, where wisdom meets happy hours. Cheers!
Cheers!
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
welcome back. And in this last segment, we're going to be talking about what makes this kind of use, sacred use of psilocybin in ceremonial spaces, therapeutic spaces, spiritual spaces, different than using it as a fun drug or recreationally or, just hanging out with friends. And what I often tell people is that it's the parentheses that you put around the experience. It's intention setting and integration. So, intentionality before you even take the mushrooms, whether you're going to be doing a macro dose or a micro dose, you have to have an intention. And so, at the end of that, what is your integration process? So let's talk a little bit about that. Intention setting. How do you all, with your work with people now in the community, how do you all help people to set their intentions?
Um, well, I always tell people, you have to have yourself in the right environment, right? This is not something I would take going to a club or,
Yes,
I even
exactly.
tell people like, a lot of people ask, oh, I'm gonna get my husband to sit for me or to watch me while I take it. And I even kind of refer away from that to a certain extent because it's like the friend that's drunk and you're sober, you're like, man, you're doing a lot. I don't know if that's right. And, you're so vulnerable in a visual dosage that somebody could just say anything to you and change your perception in that moment. You could go from having a great experience to having the worst experience just off of thinking that something is wrong with me. As they see it, maybe why don't I see it? Why don't I know that? I just try to tell people just, you try to want to come into this in the right mind space and have your environment suitable to tranquility and for you to be able to receive whatever it's going to give you. I really don't
Absolutely.
feel like uh experiences, even when people try to be recreational, I think it always ends spiritually, right? Because you don't know what the mushroom will bring to you. Like some people go into this thinking like, oh yeah, I'm gonna just have fun with my buddies, and then they come out totally different because your higher self, once that ego is gone, a lot of truth comes out.
Amen.
And so it's like
Amen.
it happens without it, God puts his hands on you, however,
Yep. That's
Yep.
that's it. You mentioned something about like setting up your space for tranquility and being in the right mind space. And it brings me back to what they used to talk about coming out of those early days of the 50s and 60s research, the set and setting. What is your mindset going in, basically your intention, and what is the setting that you're in?
Right.
That's big.
That's
Yeah.
huge.
Clean your place up. That's what we say. Find
There you go.
if you feel like you gotta set up before you go in, right? Like, hey,
Mhm.
find a happy playlist, something if you start going too far that'll bring you back. You get what I'm
Yeah.
Mhm.
saying? Like, don't watch nothing crazy. Like he said, definitely that friend that you have that you don't know too much about, but y'all hang around each other all the time, but you don't be around them because it's gonna come out. You know what I mean? Like people had those people that they never eliminated and they
Mhm.
still dragging them along and
Yeah.
they'll take it and they feel like it's ended the relationship, but it really put you on your path, on the right path. So,
Indeed.
definitely clean your place up and just set little things out that'll help you if you feel like you've gone too far. Cause some species like they can take you there
Yeah.
and you can be going somewhere and it's hard to come back if you don't have these things set up. You know.
Yeah.
Indeed. And I feel like if people are experiencing or have rather experienced trauma in their lives, and I would also add that maybe them seeking out a person who's been trained to sit for this kind of work is probably a
For
good
sure.
idea
For
because
sure.
when you've dealt with trauma, you don't know in that psychedelic space or headspace what's going to come up for healing. And my teacher taught me a symptom is something just halfway out. But if you don't know that, right, and something starts to come up that you've been tamping down for years, you don't know what to do with that. And so a professional or somebody who's been trained to sit and facilitate and help you go in and through is going to be key to you having a more successful experience than a traumatic experience.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like yeah, people that definitely work through trauma definitely need somebody who knows their way around trying to help people figure out how to work through those emotions. Um, I'm not that person, but I refer to people like you, and
Right, right.
other people that we have to do
Yeah.
those things because all I basically try to give is what I call navigation tools, right?
Yeah.
Because and nobody I feel like is an expert, right?
Right.
We're all learning as we going because
That's right.
even though we've been involved in this for a while, it's never a way to actually know how someone experience is going to turn, right?
Right.
It's all
Exactly.
perception, right? Your thoughts, even life in general, is perception. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
could think it's the worst thing ever, and there's people out here that are homeless and they think it's the best thing ever. It's
Mm-hmm.
all perception. You know what I'm saying? So yes, we always try to give some type of tools to be able to, I say, try to distract from the negative. Because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's never a bad experience. I feel like
Right.
every experience offers answers to something, right? Now, how you perceive those answers and what is given you is totally up to the person. But I
Mm-hmm.
feel like even when it's something, I feel like most of the time when people say they had a bad experience, it's just you beating yourself up, generally.
Mm.
Like you might have things in yourself that really need to be changed, right? That your ego is justifying, right? And then when it's exposed to you, it's like somebody calling you a liar when you're sober, and then you calling yourself a liar when you're, on the sacrament, right?
Yeah.
It hurts more. The truth
Yeah.
hurts, and that's a true statement. And I feel
That
like
is
a lot of
true.
people aren't ready to accept these things and then make the change for the better sometimes.
And
So that
that's where integration comes in,
for
because when
sure.
those kinds of things come up and are revealed in a ceremonial experience, or even some things get revealed just microdosing, it's the time that you take afterwards where you start to look at it and process it and name it and shift, let go of some things that has been revealed to you that need to be shifted, and welcome in things that you now need in place of that. But if you never set the intention, have the experience, and then do the integration, you just think, oh, that was a hard experience, or that was a bad experience, or as they used to say, a bad trip, you
Right.
know.
Right.
But
I
the
feel most,
integration is key. Yes, Jared.
yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I feel most people, they compare it to like alcohol and weed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, when you drink, they think in a good experience is you having fun, right? And they're not looking more so like they thinking, oh, I'm gonna just float around, fly on spaceships and go through because we all had that experience taking mushrooms where it's like you not all the way there, but you almost there and you just like
Mm-hmm.
going through the motion and everything is just fun, but they not really realizing like, hey, you gonna heal from this too. And so when they
That's
get
right.
that breakdown of where they're crying all the time, or they
Mm-hmm.
bringing stuff up, or they just going in and out, and whatever's going on, they comparing it, especially the first timers, to an alcohol or some other type of drug, to where they have those more of a fun, which you would say, experience versus a transformative experience.
Indeed. Indeed. So huge. So huge. Any final last words in our last couple of minutes, gentlemen?
Mm. I just want to say, man, I first of all, I want to thank you for having us.
Yeah.
The, this is beautiful. Having a space where you can actually talk about this stuff, and you can bring people that are actually involved in the community to help give more information and insight to others that are trying to seek it. I love this, and I really appreciate you bringing us on here. Other than that, I just really hope that, as this becomes more researched, they're supposed to be rescheduling mushrooms soon. So
Yeah, in
yeah,
Maryland,
I
they have a
really,
task force already. They're working
right.
on it here.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I really am excited to see what comes out of this, and the help that it brings to the world, man.
Amen.
Right. Yeah. No, I appreciate you having us on as well. And for me, it's just never stop. You know what I mean? Like just keep going, And sometimes a lot of us are going through things because we gave up when it got tough,
Mm.
and we forget that it's not all easy. And, mushrooms is a way that they can help you to get through those tough moments and keep pushing. These past few months been a rough for us, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so with all the changes going on, but we just got to keep the mission going, and
Hmm.
it goes with all aspects of your life. You know what I mean? Just got to keep pushing through it. So that's my final words.
Amen. Amen. Thank you for your being here. I really appreciate having you here to give voice to this big movement that's happening. It's happening all around the world, but it's particularly happening here in the DC, Maryland area in a way that I did not expect it. When I met you guys a year and some ago, I was like, wait, what's happening? So thank you for being here and sharing your stories and your work. It really just helps us to like all know that like psilocybin is more than a medicine, right? It is more than something people use recreationally. It's a therapeutic tool for healing. It's a path, helps to create a path for spiritual growth and transformation. And so I agree. I want everyone to have that opportunity who wants it, to be able to have that healing and growth.
And if
So,
anybody want to join us, they can come out to our sermon on October the 4th. And we'll be at Great Falls at 10 a.m. and we do nature walks. So we microdose and
yeah.
nature walk. So just hit us up at thelivingsacrament.com, and it's a link in there that says sermons. You could just grab some tickets. They're free. Everything's free.
There you go. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us for this episode of The Expansion Room. If anything you've heard here has inspired you, make sure you reach out to myself through the Expansion Room community on the Circle platform or at my website at Restore Tranquility to answer any of your questions, or through the Living Sacrament community to get your questions answered. And until next week, be well.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
On Frank About Health, we're not just talking healthcare. We're managing disruption and innovation. Over the last 4 years, I've taken you from epilepsy and COVID to mental health, caregiving, and now the front lines of healthcare transformation. Stay tuned for a healthier future as we bring on the innovators, professionals, storytellers, and advocates who show you how to own your healthcare every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
Hi, I'm Linda Marsanico. The A Train to Sedona is a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. It's also the name of my new broadcast on Wednesdays at 12 noon. When we are spiritual, we embrace possibilities and ideas, which strengthen our mind, body, spirit, health, and wisdom. On the A Train to Sedona broadcast, I plan to interview guests who embrace these expansive practices. Join us on Wednesdays at 12 noon on Talk Radio New York City.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.